On the 24th of March 2020, the Prime Minister of India addressed the nation regarding the ongoing pandemic. He pointed towards taking important steps to tackle the situation. So when he repeated his ever so famous phrase,
आज रात 12 बजे से
yeah, that was a huge emotional throwback. And inevitably, a lockdown was announced. We all got ready for an extended vacay at home, stocking up on supplies and acclimatizing to the whole stay-at-home routine. And while we sealed ourselves indoors in order to win the war against this microscopic threat, our TV channels cheered us on by airing content from the golden era of Indian television, back when TV was much more progressive and groundbreaking, much better than what we have today.
You better stop! Stop!
But one of these classics that's making a strong comeback right now is a show that's very close to the hearts of 90s kids like me. But we're not here to discuss the show, so let me get the story out of the way real quick. It's the modern era. Wars, darkness, criminal activity, perversions, everything is rampant.
That's dark.
And so this man is chosen to perform a ritual of death that gives him powers from the earth, wind, water, sky, and fire. And so the man comes back to life as a velvet-wearing superhuman, and he takes a pledge to destroy all evil, dark forces on Earth. And how do we do that? Simple. Kill this guy. Who is this guy? Kilwish. Okay, his name is
Tamraj Kilwish.
Him and his minions are always trying to spread evil and darkness on Earth. But it's not that easy to kill this guy. To kill him, you have to finish all evil dark forces on Earth, because this guy gains all his powers from people committing sins. I don't know how that works, but it works. Kilwish and his minions, they have their own cult greeting, this Hail Hydra type of thing. It's actually pretty cool.
Andhera Kayam Rahe.
Gender neutral. From now on, will be known as
Andhera Kayam Rahe.
Geeta Vishwas is a brave reporter who does not shy away from raising her voice against the most powerful people in the city. And in one of these situations, she ends up in trouble and is saved by this man with superhuman powers. So she writes an article about him, calling him Shaktiman. And that's how the superhero becomes famous amongst kids and citizens alike. And their paths cross often because Geeta is a damn good reporter and Shaktiman is always saving people who are in trouble. Shaktiman walks amongst humans as this geeky, clumsy photographer under the alias
पंडित गंगाधर विद्याधर मायाधर ओंकारनाथ शास्त्री ग्राम गुटिंडा पोस्ट त्रिखोली जिला भास भास भास.
He eventually ends up co-reporting with Geeta, but he always tends to miss the most important scoop and make some kind of excuse for it. How did they not fire him? Although Shaktiman's powers are limitless and pretty much godlike, he is weak when he's in the vicinity of this specific crystal.
ये तो पाप पानी है.
And that's because it's filled with, yes, you guessed it, evil, dark forces.
You only knew the power of the dark side.
And that's basically the premise of the show. Shaktiman even spawned comic books, a TV film, and even an animated series. And considering the fact that Shaktiman ran for a whopping 450 episodes, it's safe to say that it's an immensely successful franchise. But we all know what every successful franchise is inevitably subjected to. Now, if you're like me and you went to primary school in the early 2000s India, I'm pretty sure you heard this rumor about a kid jumping off a building thinking that he'll be saved by his hero Shaktiman, and that's why the show ended. I got this rumor from a friend of mine and I didn't really think much of it. I thought it was a joke. I had a good laugh actually. But it's still something that pops up in my head every time I think about the show. And so, years later, I'm an unemployed waste of space in his early 20s, excited about the reruns. And I'm watching the first episode and my jaw drops. Because this is what happens in the very first episode. That got me thinking, was there any truth to what my friend had told me all those years back? And even today, if you search about how the show really ended, someone or the other is always mentioning this. So what really happened? Did it really happen? If it did, how much did it really affect the show? Let's take a deep dive. Now you can find a handful of reports online which reference a news article or a police report which implicates the show for the death of children, but I can't really find them. My guess is that either these weren't archived online or they were removed because of legal action, which we'll get to in a bit. But for now, let's discuss these few reports that I could find online to truly understand what we're dealing with. So first up is an article I can find on two websites. I'm guessing same parent company. Anyway, it says a 7-year-old boy hangs himself waiting for a television superhero to rescue him. It also adds that he previously suffered several fractures after he jumped from the roof of their home, believing he could fly like Shaktiman. Neighbors say he spent hours imitating him, and his father wants the series banned. The only other article I could find which directly implicates the show is this unreadable mess. I took my time, and after my painstaking efforts, I transferred this onto a Word document. And strangely enough, this is the most detailed report I could find of this nature. The article talks about this 9-year-old girl who ends up choking herself using a towel when she tried to twirl around like Shaktiman. This is a very detailed article and it talks a lot about the plight of the parents, so I really don't want to get into it because it messes with the tone of my video. So if you want to read it, just pause and go through it. I'm sorry. Now that we have established the nature of the kind of allegations the show was facing, let me take a few minutes to talk about my own childhood memories. Shaktiman was one of the first superheroes I knew. Heck, it was one of my first TV shows. I spent the better part of Sunday mornings watching Shaktiman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles dubbed in Hindi.
Aha! मैंने पकड़ लिया मेरा पिज्जा.
And I imitated everything on TV. Twirling around like Shaktiman? Check. Jumping and landing like Spider-Man? Done and dusted. But what I never did was jump off my balcony. And to be very honest, I would have done that. I was a dumb kid. But my parents made sure that I never played around or with these 4 things: fire, sharp objects, a steep drop, and wet places. And I still live by that. You'll never find me around wet places. While researching for this topic, I stumbled upon an article by Varsha Bhosle on Rediff. Yes, she's related to Asha Bhosle. She was her daughter. So this is an article which is way back in 1999, and she's talking about PC culture and Shaktiman. I'd suggest you go through this article completely. I'll put the link in the description. Everything I want to say about this issue can be summed up in her paragraph, which reads, "Honestly, when I think of all these victims referring to the children of course, I see the truth in Aldous Huxley's line, it takes 2 to make a murder. There are born victims, born to have their throats cut. For very honestly, if I issue from my loins a child who believes it's safe to leap off rooftops, I'd happily give him the final push. There must be nothing worse than the knowledge that one's responsible for putting an idiot on earth." I know that she goes a bit too far, but it's the naked truth. You simply cannot blame these deaths on a TV show. Children have a mystical fascination towards larger-than-life characters due to their inquisitive nature and vivid imagination. Characters like Shaktiman and Superman use this fascination to mold them into better human beings, to inspire them to be helpful creatures. After all, Shaktiman's message to children has always been to be followers of truth. And this whole trend of focusing on the messenger and not the message can be seen everywhere. Mythological characters, religious texts, they always seem to worship the messenger and not the message. And we all know that there are people out there, these wolves in sheep's clothing, who take advantage of this vulnerable mindset of people. I think it's very imperative that we teach our kids to focus on the right things, right from their childhood. But what is the truth? What if I tell you that Shaktiman is a victim of a nationwide conspiracy?
Can you explain that, please?
So what is this conspiracy angle? Well, to understand that, we need to take a step back and learn more about this man, Mukesh Khanna. One of the most respected personalities of Indian film industry, this man rose to fame for playing Bhishma in B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata, which is being retelecast right now. It's nearing the final episode as I speak. Khanna has appeared in many successful movies and TV shows, but he's known all over India as Shaktiman. There are people who still don't know his name but know him as Shaktiman. He has invested in this character more than anything. I'm talking both emotional and monetary. Khanna conceptualized this character and he produced the show. And he was so ambitious, the end product did not even meet his expectations. He wanted stuff he had seen in Spider-Man, Superman and Terminator, but CGI was a fairly new concept in India and we didn't have a lot of trained professionals. It costed him about 2 to 10 lakhs per episode just for CGI. And like I pointed out before, many things about Shaktiman seemed inspired from other works like Spider-Man or Superman, but that is all there is to it. You could never mistake Shaktiman for a Western character. He's born out of Yagya, he gains his powers through meditation and yoga. He's more authentic as an Indian than Batman as an American. And apart from being a gatekeeper for Indian culture and Hindu mythology, Mukesh Khanna runs a YouTube channel by the name Bhishma International. This is where he puts forward his views about things happening in the country, his opinion about things that happened in the week, and many of his videos are dedicated towards Shaktiman fans. And this is where you really get to see the attachment he has to that character. This channel has basically become a place where he interacts with his fans. A while back, he announced a show called Sorry Shaktiman. It's on YouTube. It's just clips of him elaborating the importance of discipline, time management, just basic moral lessons for kids. And he does all this in character as either Shaktiman or Gangadhar. And I even read reports that Mukesh Khanna lost 8 kilos to get back into the role of Shaktiman. I'm assuming he was talking about this role, but losing 8 kilos at the age of 57 is not a joke. When you watch one of those Sorry Shaktiman videos, you get the vibe that he's not doing this out of greed or for some monetary gain. He's doing this out of pure concern. He does this because he cares for the kids. So, how did a man like this react when his own character was being blamed for the deaths of children? Which brings me back to Varsha Bhosle's article. Her article mentions Mukesh Khanna hiring private detectives to clear accusations against the show. And it talks about this incident where they found out that this kid who was hospitalized was actually hurt during normal play. And some guy had come to the hospital wearing a white kurta and he had told the family to say that it was because of Shaktiman's influence the child was hurt. If this is true, it begs the question of who actually benefits from this smear campaign, and why did Mukesh Khanna actually hire private detectives to clear these accusations? This article by India Today sheds more light on both these questions. According to the article, Doordarshan, the channel that aired Shaktiman, was planning to take the show off air after a 4-week notice period. Mukesh Khanna challenged this decision by filing a lawsuit against them. He also filed a complaint against the news agency which was breaking news about these cases for not completely corroborating their stories. It then follows up on 3 cases which were reported as Shaktiman related, but they found out that it had nothing to do with the show. In another interview, Mukesh Khanna also stated that one of the boys did not even know who Shaktiman is. And according to Mukesh Khanna, there are 3 possible suspects who are behind this.
Number 1, step forward.
Back in those days, Mukesh Khanna used to be affiliated to the BJP, and he had strong suspicions that this was the work of his political rivals. I don't know how true this is because I wasn't really into politics back then. I think he still is affiliated to the BJP. I don't know what the deal is. He is sometimes an active spokesperson for them, but I see him criticizing them sometimes. He's like that grumpy grandpa who schools you and criticizes you only because he cares about you and knows you can do better. The other day he uploaded a video in support of Carrie Minati in character as Shaktiman. He supports Carrie Minati and protests the takedown of his video, and also telling Carrie to watch his words and curse less.
मैं इसके साथ कैरी मिनाटी को भी एक सलाह देना चाहता हूं कि शब्दों के चयन और वाक्यों का चयन सही कीजिए.
And when he received comments saying Carrie Minati is just practicing his right to speech, his freedom of expression and whatnot, he schooled them in the comment section, calling them Aaj ke Arjun, giving advice in character as Bhishma.
द्वापर युग का अर्जुन याद आ गया, तो मैंने उसको भी यही कहा कि जिस तरह से पितामह अर्जुन को सीख देते थे, मैं भी तेरे को इस कलयुग के मैं तुम्हें सीख देना चाहूंगा.
This guy is my favorite boomer. He's the boomer you'd least expect to be this active on social media, all the while being the coolest to ever do it. I freaking love it. So who's the next suspect? Chewing tobacco lobby. Wait, what's that? How? Well, Khanna used to head a campaign against chewing tobacco abuse amongst kids. So maybe it's the Supari and Gutka manufacturers, right? But really, what in the world has ever stopped tobacco consumption? And Mukesh Khanna himself realizes this. Their business is still running. I can't be a threat to them. Elementary, my dear Watson. On to the next one. Which brings us to our last suspect. But let's take it all the way back. What is Shaktiman? A character which belongs to a show, which was produced by someone. So who could be the most eligible suspect? Another character, another show, another producer. So who's this mystery producer? We don't know. This is the wildest thing ever to happen to a kids show. I feel like I'm losing my grip on reality. The last few weeks, all I could dream about was Shaktiman. I need help. Now, how much of an effect did this whole thing have on the show? About the 4-week notice period, well, Shaktiman went on as scheduled for the next 4 years. So they never took the show off the air for this reason. And no matter how much you search, you won't find full-length articles about kids jumping off balconies to imitate Shaktiman anymore. So I guess the complaint served its purpose. The real tragedy is how the show actually ended. Now I gotta be honest, I did not stick around till the end of the show. By that time, I had moved on to channels which aired kids content 24/7. But I always wondered how the show really ended. So after searching on the internet, I found out that the show was actually discontinued mid-season. And according to some Quora answers, it was announced that the show was temporarily put on hold on account of students having their final exams. But the show never resumed, and all the kids that tuned in after their exams were only greeted by an episode of Ariman. Oh yeah, that's another show by Mukesh Khanna. It's basically a fever dream, but in the Star Wars universe. But if it wasn't those unconfirmed news reports or the evil plan by the co-conspirators, what really killed Shaktiman? On August 15th last year, Mukesh Khanna uploaded this video on his YouTube channel explaining the real reason Shaktiman was discontinued mid-season. This video was in response to the rumors that were going around in social media at that time regarding the real reason why Shaktiman was discontinued. After talking about how successful the show was and what the show means to him personally, he gets into the real reason why the show was discontinued. The show initially aired on 2 non-prime slots, Sunday morning and Tuesday nights, and he was charged 3,80,000 for broadcasting the show. So back then he had to pay for the slots, and the revenue comes from the ads that were run during the show. About 200 episodes later, he decided to air the show on Sundays, which is a primetime slot. This meant an increase in the broadcasting charges to 7,80,000, and after a year they bumped it up to 10,80,000, and this is when he felt like his success is being penalized, as he puts it. And later on there were talks about changing it again to over 16 lakhs.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
He protested against these charges, but apparently they had rules set in place for this, and he was not able to convince them. And after a point when he started incurring losses, he had to unwillingly pull the plug on Shaktiman. So that's it, the real reason why we never got a proper ending. He ends the video saying that he is still looking forward to giving us a season 2.
मैं भी उतना ही इंतज़ार कर रहा हूँ जितना आप लोग इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं, तो हो सकता है बहुत जल्द हम मिलेंगे शक्तिमान सीजन 2 को लेकर.
I don't know how that'll play out, but this is all you need to know about the controversy. Now, I made this video purely for shits and giggles, but if there's one thing I want you guys to take away from this, is to stop sharing unverified news. Even though Mukesh Khanna got to the bottom of this, the damage had already been done. This was the kind of stuff that was printed on local newspapers and tabloids. And today, a time when internet access and social media is available to virtually all sections of the society, we really need to be responsible for what we share with others, because we're all exposed to the same material. The only difference lies in perception. Something that might be funny to you will be offensive for someone, and this person might be 1 kilometer away or even 2 states away from you. So the next time you receive a WhatsApp forward that agitates you, really gets on your nerves, do not do anything, delete it. The next time you see someone on Instagram trying to be edgy, don't do anything. The next time you see someone on Twitter being a prick, don't do anything. You worsen the situation by being a part of it. So let's be responsible netizens, guys. It's social distancing for the social media. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. I would love some feedback in the comment section. Share it amongst people who might like this kind of content. And please subscribe, because I plan on making more of these.